Hey, what is up, HooTube? HooTube, still Who Week, kinda. We have got another request here. I'm gonna read it out. Hey, Andy, I just sent in a PayPal request for the Who Won't Get Fooled Again studio version. A nice compliment to your live version for Who Week. Any chance you can do this as soon as you can post Who Week will be a nice follow-up of Moon in his Prime circa 1971. The live filmed version you did was from 1978, a short time before he passed away, unfortunately. Here is the link. Thank you, Eric. I am delighted to extend out Who Week. Now, Eric, we had a bit of a back and forth, and we discussed the possibility of using the Drumeo version so we can actually follow along with the notation. Really helps me as a teacher to just dig into the drum part. It's an invaluable resource. So guys, remember, you can access all of this stuff for free. Just follow my link here or here in the description, and you can get access to 30 days free over at Drumeo. Just follow my link. And all of this stuff is available in the songs section. So we're going to check out Won't Get Fooled Again, following along with the Drumeo transcription. Let's get it. It's a long intro, isn't it? It's a long song, 8:35.
We'll be fighting in the streets with our children at our feet. And tomorrow's the day worship will be gone.
Fascinating style here. I just want to back it up a little bit. This is a good example here, this bar. We can loop it. This is one of the features of Drumeo. Check this out. I'll loop these two bars. Just this double snare hit. It almost just sounds like something you'd do as a mistake.
Tomorrow's the day worship will be gone. Tomorrow's the day worship will be gone. And the men who spurred us on, sit in judgment of all wrong. They decide and the shotgun sings the song. I'll tip my hat to the new Constitution. Take a bow for the new revolution. Slide and free, let the change all around. Pick up my guitar and play, just like yesterday. Then I'll get on my knees and pray.
Just pause it there on the stop in the song. There are so many different approaches that he takes. There hasn't been anything that I would consider difficult or strange in isolation in itself. Like if you took one bar, any one bar of the 55 bars we've had so far, there's nothing in there that would be considered difficult. There's nothing particularly fast or weird or crazy. It's the sequence of bars. There is so much variation, and something that I always go on this channel about is live drum takes, live drums, as opposed to triggered drums. Nothing against triggered drums or samples, just a different world. And this was a different world. 1971, I believe Eric said it was. Such a different world, such a different style of recording the drums, what you're aiming to capture when you're recording the drums. Like, it was a bit more, we want to capture the drums as they sound in the room, which is not really how drums are recorded now. Controversial, perhaps. But just this endless sequence, the stream of consciousness of ideas. It's just so, so cool.
We don't get fooled again.
Just completely mishit the snare drum on the 2 there. Just going to go back. It's amazing what stayed in recordings back in the day. And I'm going to get to this at the end of the video because I think this is worthy of constant, I don't know about justifying me pointing these parts out, but I think it's just worthy of discussion now that we live in this digital perfect age of samples. And listen to this. On the 2, he just completely catches a rim. Caught the rim of the tom. Check it out.
And the world looks just the same if history ain't changed. 'Cause the banners they all flown in the last war. I'll tip my hat to the new Constitution. Think of time for the new revolution. Smiling green, the change all around. Pick up my guitar and play.
31 bar synth interlude. Wow. I feel like I need to constantly do disclaimers on, I guess, pointing out mistakes or mishits. Get to that at the end. Well, remind me. We'll talk about that at the end. I need to talk about the conversational nature of Keith's playing as well, because it's really apparent, especially following along with this transcription. Super cool. Super cool. Feels like a different tempo here. Might have gone to the original tempo.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Lots of improv here, lots of improv. Now we're doing 4 bar. You know, that one earwormed me pretty hard from Who Week. And to listen to it again, yeah, it's a catchy song, especially with that synth line, and the vocals won't get fooled again, that catchphrase, the song title. Just a classic rock banger. Absolute banger. Couple of things I was going to bring up. Now let's talk about style and intention and the era that this music was recorded in. I can't help but compare this to the other classic Brit rock from the era, Black Sabbath. I feel like this mostly sort of fits in that Black Sabbath world, although not with the metal parts, but just with the approach. Probably more than Led Zepp for me. And one of the main reasons for that is the improvisational nature of it, while there still is improv in Led Zeppelin. But this has got a bit more of like a comping style, comping approach. The bass is very virtuoso, sort of comping, sort of all over the map. I've praised Bill Ward, Black Sabbath, with his conversational approach on the drums and his, what I call a comping style. Comping is normally a jazz term that is comping or accompanying a soloist. So you're playing and you're reacting to what the soloist is saying. This conversational approach. If you're not a musician and you're not sure what you're hearing when you're hearing musicians improvise, they are basically having a conversation on the stage, on their axes. It's just they're not talking, they're not using their mouths, they're talking with their instruments, and they're giving feedback. There's questions and answers. There's a whole dialogue going on. And this group in particular, it's really interesting because you've got some powerful personalities and some powerful players with a lot to say. Just think of it like talking, like people who've got a lot to say. Guilty? And it's just so amazing, and it's just so clear as day especially when you watch the track along with the transcription, because there's just so many changes. It's just what he's playing. If you cut any one bar out, is not difficult or complicated or in any way, really. It's pretty standard stuff. It's not overly fast. It's not whatever. But it's the sequence that he's putting it together in. It's just constant. It's just a constant dialogue. It's just idea. It's just, and you like those ideas? I've got more. And they just keep coming and just keep coming and keep coming. And meanwhile, you've got this bass that's just like all over the place. He's really comfortable in his skin, and he's on top of everything. I haven't talked about the other two a lot because they are, I guess, a little bit more playing a standard role of what you would expect in a rock band. Not to say they're not good. Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, amazing. I've been super impressed, especially at the singing. It's great. But yeah, this comping style, a la Bill Ward. Now, another thing that I feel like I do need to constantly mention, because I often bring it up in these classic rock groups, is mistakes, right? Such as I noted, like he just completely caught a rim and didn't catch the tom. And then it would happen heaps on the snare. It'd catch a snare rim and just, I guess, what we would consider in 2023 a mistake, and certainly something that you probably wouldn't put on a recording in 2023. Why? We don't have to. We can fix it digitally, right? We can just insert a snare. I can't. I'm not that good an engineer, but a proper engineer could on a drum recording. And then you want to ask the question, well, has that improved music? Because that's not really music, that's drumming and engineering. So there's a trade-off between a full, real human drum performance, warts and all, and perfection. And our standards today, especially to get onto a platform like Spotify and compete with other modern groups, kind of needs to be perfect. It needs to be loud and perfect and squashed and compressed and all different things. I don't know. I'll leave that hanging there for you guys to comment, to like, sub, and comment on. What do you think? Was that a good trade-off for you? I want to hear a human being. That's not to discredit anyone who is using samples or recording, that close mic style, but this is a much more an attempt to capture what a drum kit sounds like in a room or in a studio or at a gig. It sounds like a full drum kit. It just sounds like what a drum kit would sound like. Whereas a recording now doesn't really sound like what a drum kit would sound like in a room. We've adjusted to that various ways with different types of mutes. But anyway, that's a story for another day. But yeah, mistakes. It comes down to the intention of the player. It really does. And the intention of the band. What's going to suit the band? Do we retake that because we caught a rim? I don't know. I noticed it. Other people might not notice it. And even though I noticed it, I'm not complaining. It's just a point of interest. It is an identifier and a marker of how they're recorded and how they're approaching this. It's rock and roll, baby. It is rock and roll. It's not studio session player perfection. It's just not. It's just not. And for me personally, I've labored this point on different videos. I want to hear the person, right? The character of a player, the character of a band. Does a band have a tendency to speed up? Cool. Why? Because their adrenaline's racing and they're excited, or they're playing live and they'll speed up like a bit of adrenaline. Great. it's not against the law. It's absolutely fine. I want an experience. Crowds want an experience. It's a popular group. They got an experience out of it. It just depends. Again, not throwing shade on perfect players or that close mic'd, modern or sampled sound. Not at all. That's great for certain things. But, it's just a different era. I'm trying to avoid getting into trouble here. But yeah, it's just so interesting. Often non-drummers can sometimes be the best drummer, or at least they can have some really cool drum ideas. Sometimes. We tend to, as drummers and as drum fans, we tend to view things through a drum lens. What would be the best drum way, using my background and knowledge? How can I funnel that into doing the best drum part for this certain piece of music? Versus playing music. Keith Moon, I get the impression, has no filter. He's just playing music. He's hearing, and it's just coming out. He's not hearing and going, oh, I think I'll do a drag there, and then I need to do 16th notes. Now, I do a lot of analysis on this channel, and people could think, oh, he's a drum teacher. You just got to play. You just got to. I am really, really aware of overteaching. And I'm really aware of this concept of don't get in your own way. You almost want to learn all these techniques and then forget them. Honestly, you really do. All of this stuff should be automatic, like driving a car where you don't jump in your car and go, right, I need to open the door now. Now I'm going to close it. Now I'm going to get my ignition key and I'm going to put it in the ignition. I'm going to turn it clockwise. You know, you're probably doing all that on your phone. Or, you know, you're adjusting your radio while you're doing all that and making sure the kids have got their seatbelts on. I don't know. It's all automatic. It's actually a lot like driving. There have been many occasions where someone at a band rehearsal or whatever, like a keyboardist, might jump on the drums and they might play and you think, wow, never thought of playing that. You know, maybe it's a bit sloppy or it's a bit rough around the edges, but you think, wow, that's a different approach. Because they're thinking of it from a keyboard perspective. You know, almost like, what would I want on the drums for my keyboard part to work? The good musicians are the ones who they're not good drummers. They're good musicians. This is another constant thing. It's really hard for drummers to get their head around this. This is why music teachers will tell you to learn a second instrument, at least one other instrument, to at least get a different perspective and a different overview on what's going on, and to stop thinking drums, and think music. Just think music. It's just so much to take away from this stuff. Just endlessly loving these Keith Moon deep dives, and that's a great addition to Keith Moon / The Who Week. Thank you so much, Eric. Guys, remember, if you dug this video, please do consider liking it, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment with what you thought of this video and what you'd like me to check out in the future. If you would like to support my channel further, I do have a Patreon. It's just $5 a month. You will get access to the blocked videos. If you have a direct reaction request that you want to guarantee gets on the channel, the only way I can guarantee a request at the moment, that is via the PayPal link. And remember, you as a subscriber of my channel, you get access to 30 days free over at Drumeo. You get access to the type of resources, well, the exact resources that you saw in this video. It is crazy. You can slow songs down. You can loop sections. 6,000 plus songs. If you're a tutor, no brainer. You just got endless amount of songs, teaching material for your students. If you're a gigging player, again, 6,000 songs, you're going to be able to cover your whole set list and learn the songs easily and learn a lot of them really quick. If you're a non-drummer or beginner drummer, they can start you right at the beginning from how to set up your drum kit, like right through to very, very advanced stuff. Go get it. Link here or in the description. 30 days free on me. Until next time, guys, take care. Keep chopping wood. Ciao.